What's up guys, aarava here, and welcome back to the episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 19 today for the Australian Grand Prix, which sounds very weird to say. We've had many years of saying the Australian Grand Prix is the opening round, or the second round, or whatever the case in other custom calendars, but the Australian Grand Prix is the second last race of this season, and we've come off the back of a very juicy Brazilian GP last episode. So if you have missed that, check that one out. Perhaps I think it is the craziest race we've had to date in terms of the amount of chaos there was. The race was pretty entertaining anyways, up until the end, and then it really started to heat up in the last few laps, obviously taking the gamble not to pit for a second time for a fresh set of intermediates. We took the gamble along with other drivers like Carlos Sainz and Yuki Tsunoda. In the end, I just got rather unlucky. The tyre popped and we had a very shaky half last lap where I was trying to just not put it in the wall or on the grass and take it home for some points to limit the damage, because in the end, one of our rivals, Yuki Tsunoda, he got his first podium in Formula 1, he got third place, and Carlos Sainz was a shock winner in the Ferrari. So yeah, an all-round crazy episode. I mean, on the last lap, we even battled for the lead 3-wide with Hamilton and Sainz, so yeah, very enjoyable episode, even though it's annoying we've lost ground to AlphaTauri, but we just get our head down and try and recompose, re-switch on for Australia and try and get some points back on them if we can. But we're looking at, well, before the race weekend, looking to adapt some parts. Of course, we still have some active upgrades coming in for the engine side. If you weren't paying attention to the last episode, the R&D regulation changes come in ahead of Season 2, the powertrain and the durability both being reset. So we didn't have too many engine upgrades to adapt. So I've actually adapted all the ones we had already, but I already had two other ones pending on the way, which was a fuel consumption and an ERS upgrade. So once those come in, one of them has already, we'll have to actually adapt them already, but it's half price, and we've got a lot of boosters on them, discounts, so it won't be that expensive. I'm confident we should be able to adapt the whole engine, and that won't be an issue for us. In terms of also something else we discussed last episode was I gave you guys a vote of what we should be doing with our money. Should we completely save to allow us to kind of have a free choice of what teammate we want to go for, or do we spend it on one last HQ facility upgrade just before we get to that contract negotiation period? You guys voted, and it was a win for saving the money. So we will be saving our money up until we do that contract negotiation. Now, to be fair, you've got to remember that the money alone won't decide what teammate we get, because these guys, these drivers, they're going to have demands of what spec level they want for the HQ, what they want from us in the R&D chart. So, even if we have the money to afford even if we have the money to afford maybe some other, more top-level drivers, we may not be able to sign them, but at least it gives us that complete freedom to go for who we want, and we're not bottlenecked by the money. And once we've done that negotiation period, we still have a decent amount of the winter break to go to spend the money on an HQ upgrade. So that's no bother for me, and I welcome that decision. I think that's the right way to go, and so that's what we're going to do. We have a personnel department choice to make also ahead of Australia. Driver training. We have the opportunity to sign an ex-driver, Lucas Weber, to consult for our team. It's going to cost us 50k. Not that much considering, and we're going to get +7 the racecraft. We're going to go for it because, remember, we had a decision last episode where we minus the racecraft from my lot because we were +10ing on the awareness for giving him a break. So we're going to effectively get a lot of that back and a little bit more, and maybe that'll help us. I'm just saying that I'm putting this out there. It would be nice if in this episode, or the last episode next time at Abu Dhabi, if this is the time for iLot to turn up and actually do something and actually score some points for us, because that would definitely help me out in terms of our fight with both AlphaTauris. It's not now just Gasly contributing to the points. Tsunoda with a big 15 points last episode. That's a big swing, and we just don't know how AlphaTauri are going to be around Melbourne and how we are, because it is, as I said, it's usually the first race. Usually it's a big stab into the unknown, but now it's even kind of even more unknown, because with all these upgrades, I don't really know if our car's going to suit Australia or not. I'd like to hope so. Generally goes quite well on last year's game with the FOM car, but it is a very different game, very different handling, and the curbs may be a lot more different as well about Albert Park. And one other thing we have to contend with is, unfortunately, a 5-place penalty. We talked about the MGH. It was overheating last episode. Didn't cause us any issues, though, so I'm glad we didn't take the risk there, but it now means that it is worn out to the point after quick practice that we do have to take a penalty for that, and I'm not gonna lie, there may be one more penalty to take around the Abu Dhabi Grand Grand Prix. Now, the reason why I'm not going to take both penalties today in the episode is because, as I've said in the last couple episodes, you've seen the AI around us are also getting penalties. So if we can get away with taking one 5-place penalty and somehow actually ending up more forwards than backwards on the grid, or, you know, just reducing that 5 place to 3 or 2 places backwards because other people have penalties, then it's a no-brainer. We should do that rather than relegating us to firmly at the back of the grid. So that's the kind of plan and thinking behind that. And we go into Saturday then, and we just got to hope that the car is going well. And I'm not going to lie though, on the first run, the car was feeling fairly stiff, and the curbs also very tricky to handle around Melbourne. I feel like there's a few tracks on the game where the curbs are very random. Like sometimes you get chucked off, sometimes not. Melbourne's definitely one of them where there's a few curbs, especially Sector 1 and the last sector, where just every other lap you might get spat off, and it's quite tricky to handle. And to that effect, I think the first lap I definitely didn't drive as aggressively and kind of really with as much vigor as I could have, and that kind of shows in the time we've gained on the second run. A little bit more confident, just kind of almost going screw it and just chucking the car in and hoping that the curb doesn't spit you off. But that's going to be an issue we may face in the race. We might be driving a little bit, you know, on the knife edge because I'm so scared of the curbs. It's the first time really that I've personally felt the curbs are a little bit overdone. You know, I know we all know they're aggressive curbs, but there definitely has been other people. I've seen other content creators, you know, esports guys talk about the curbs being sometimes a bit too RNG, a bit too crazy. I've not experienced that so far, but this race, this episode, definitely was the case. I was definitely feeling like there's a few curbs where I was hitting them at the same angle on different laps, and they would spit me out or not. So it's definitely something that is a little bit concerning for us in the race. I think it just means we won't be able to perform at the highest level, maybe because we're concerned about the curb, just like that curb right there, that left-hander curb. I know I went very wide, but there's a few times where I've gone that wide before and it's fine. So it's a bit of an odd one. But we're here in Q2 then. You saw there we got in just by the skin of our teeth really in terms of the position. P16 again making it through. Ilot unfortunately knocked out in P17. Remember though, we have the 5-place penalty, so we try and get as high as we can, looking to try and beat Ocon at least in the qualifying across the line. P13 then in between Sonoda and, well, it was Gasly, but Alonso slots into P12, but we do beat Ocon. Obviously I'm focusing on Ocon because he's our in-game rival, so we need to beat him for not only the acclaim level, but also our sponsor depends on it as well, when the bonus payment is beating and out-qualifying our rival Ocon, the in-game rival, on-track rival. So we've done that, but of course we're looking at Gasly, looking at Sonoda, and that battle with AlphaTauri. But P13, don't know where we're going to be, honestly, for the grid, so let's go find out. Let's see who else has penalties and see where we line up for Sunday.
Welcome to Melbourne. You can hear the roar of the crowd out there, which can only mean one thing: race day is upon us. The Melbourne circuit is certainly one that needs to be taken seriously. Its combination of slippery surfaces and difficult corners make it a tricky track when it comes to overtakes. Drivers find it hard to pass and will need to take full advantage of those DRS zones if they want to have any hope of breaking through. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today. But I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Valtteri Bottas lines up on pole position, edging out Lando Norris, who'll start from P2. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Perez, Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, they've taken a grid penalty, and Ocon, Verstappen, Ricciardo, Gasly and Callum Island, Fernando Alonso, Russell, Carlos Sainz, the owner driver, Giovinazzi, Stroll, Yuki Tsunoda. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty, and Kimi Räikkönen. Mick Schumacher. They've taken a grid penalty. Vettel, Latifi and Nikita Mazepin. And with preparations almost complete, let's head down to the track.
So we've not moved forwards this time on the grid, but things could have been a lot worse. I think we come off really well, starting in P15, only 2 places back from where we qualified, thanks to others having grid penalties. And to be honest, even some of the other runners in the top 10 have got penalties so that they're right there with us. You know, Sainz is right here on the left of us. So both of us ended last race together, and we're going to start this race together. It is going to be a one-stop apparently, either way, either soft to hards or the mediums to hards. Definitely not going for the mediums to hards after the PTSD I get from USA. And it looks like everyone, apart from the Alfa Romeos, are going to start on the softs. The Alfa Romeos opting for the hard tyre to begin with. So we're all just going to do the same thing. So unfortunately, Australia maybe isn't as tactically interesting as it maybe once was on last year's game. But we're hoping that we can just have a smooth race, and we're looking to aim for the AlphaTauri ahead of us of Pierre Gasly. But it's the penultimate round of this season. It seems very strange to be here down under, but here we are for the Australian Grand Prix. Fire lights are out and we're underway, and the Ferrari has a shocking getaway on the left hand side, and Callum Ilott has a decent one. He's up into P10 into turn 1. It's a very tight corner down the inside. We've got a car diving through. I think that was Schumacher and Sonoda tried to cheekily get his nose in, didn't quite work out. In the end we hold our ground, and we're going to try and dive down the inside of George Russell, who's been elevated thanks to these grid penalties, but we're going to get the Williams car for sure. But look at Ilott go in P10 right now, just behind Gasly. I said I wanted him to do something in the last 2 rounds to maybe get some points. Maybe this is going to be it, as he defends from Fernando Alonso and keeps Alonso behind the Alpine car. So good work there from Ilott, our teammate, but I feel like already looking at the gap between him and Gasly, it's going to be futile, and eventually he's going to drop back behind. So we're going to try and use this this period of the race where Ilott's effectively backing Alonso into us to try and get Alonso, and then use that clean air ahead of Ilott to close up to Gasly, who is finding himself stuck in a bit of a train, I think, with I think Ocon is the leader of that mini train in the midfield, as we're now trying to size up Alonso there using all the ERS we've got available to us on this left hand side. We make a dive. Alonso's going to go late on the brakes, but we're going to keep our nose in there. Oh, it's very, very fine, and it's a great little squabble, but we are going to get Fernando Alonso, and we will eventually get onto the back of Callum Ilott as well on lap number 4. Taking a little bit of time here, because Ilott did get away from us after fighting Alonso, but he should... I don't expect him to put much of a fight, and here we are now with DRS and ERS. It's almost like he's pulled along and let us through on purpose there. The AI definitely don't have any coding to do that, but it looked like almost in a way, because he was so slow off that corner that he was almost letting us by. But we're up into P10 then. Gasly ahead of us in P9. Ricciardo, Verstappen, all 3 of them stuck behind the Frenchman Esteban Ocon, the man who won the Hungarian Grand Prix in real life here, not looking too quick around Albert Park, and he's definitely holding them up. So this is great news for us. We're going to be essentially able to reel Gasly in very rapidly, as now Verstappen is going for a move on Ocon at the end of lap number 4, round the outside. Oh, it is close. Verstappen and Ocon, of course, these two have a, well, not so great history together. We're coming together at the Brazilian Grand Prix a few years ago. Verstappen on the inside. Ocon is still keeping his foot in, and they've fought so hard and so much that we've closed right up. Ricciardo might get involved, Gasly might get involved. This could become a 4-way fight. It's going to be 3 wide. Gasly to the inside of Ocon, and Ricciardo, we take it nice and patiently, cut into the inside, get 1 position. We're going to go for 2. Ricciardo and Ocon, we pull alongside. Bit of contact made as we try and forge and carve some space on the right hand side, because Ocon wasn't giving us any room to work with. We had to kind of wrestle our way through into that space, but we've got it done. And on the exit of that left-hander, we get around the outside of Daniel Ricciardo. And that was a really nice bit of tactical driving, just waiting for the right opportunity. Those 3 going 3 wide to turn 1 was never going to work. We broke early, cut in tight on the right hand side, got Gasly on the nice inside line, and then well, just went for it, and we got those 2. But in the end, Ricciardo will re-overtake us, and you can see I've not put up much of a fight there on purpose, because we know the McLaren is the 2nd best car on the grid. The McLaren is a race-winning car this season, so there is really no point putting up a fight against Ricciardo. But Ocon and Gasly behind for sure. Gasly's now overtaken Ocon, and on lap number 8, he's going to try and make a pass with DRS. We have to defend this, remember. We are fighting him. We're fighting AlphaTauri for that important 6th place in the Constructors' Championship, and we will maintain the position just about. But you can see the understeer that I'm getting in the car as the tyres are going off, and the front ones especially not looking too great. And onto lap number 10, we're going to come in for the pit stop then. Gasly right behind us. We're going to cover him off. That's good news for us. Ocon continues on. Don't know if that's going to... I think that's going to be a mistake, to be honest, because Alonso's in as well. And I think the way my front tyres were going off, Ilot's also in as well, the same lap as me. I think the front tyres were going off so much that I don't think there's going to be I don't think there's going to be any kind of overcut you can really make around this circuit. So I think those guys may be losing a little bit more time. And we're going to come out then in P15. Raikkonen and Giovinazzi are ahead of us. Both, remember, started on the hard tyres, as Ocon is now out of this Grand Prix. So it just shows then clearly why he was holding up Ricciardo, Verstappen and Gasly. He jumped people on the grid because they had grid penalties, but clearly from the get-go he had an issue with his car, and it's now got to the point where he has to retire from the race. So it explains a lot. But I was saying the two Alfa Romeos obviously on hard compounded tyres, so we're going to catch up to them. They're on old hards that have been on that car for 14 laps now, so we should be overtaking them. You can see the pace difference between myself and Raikkonen. A bit of an awkward overtake, to be fair, though, on the outside of turn 1, and not ideal as well to catch Giovinazzi. Just don't quite have enough overspeed to make a move on the inside here through this right-hander, so we're going to get held up a little bit by the Italian, and that's going to allow Gasly just to remain within 1 second. We dive bomb to the inside. It's so fine, but we're just trying to make this work and dance away around the outside of Antonio Giovinazzi. We've got him up into P8, but Gasly will also get him annoyingly. So, this whole race so far, once I've met Gasly on track, we've been basically joined at the hip. He's keeping the pressure on. It's almost like he knows as well what's at stake for AlphaTauri, for his team, for the Constructors. And those of you who have watched my channel at least for like a year or so will know the history myself and Gasly have had on the F1 game. It's really funny, isn't it? Season 1, battling AlphaTauri for the Constructors' Championship, a very important battle. The first time of asking, and the battle obviously is with Gasly, as it always is apparently. But lap 15, as Lance Stroll loses the back end, and there's a massive spin for him at the high-speed chicane, and later on the same lap that was, and we've cut to the last sector, and this safety car is out. No surprise for a massive spin for the Canadian. I saw he was going a little bit wide. He always looked a bit wide and sheepish, and then just lost the back end, and the car went round. And I think he actually somehow managed to escape without any damage, but the safety car is still out then, just in case, because that was quite a high-speed one. So let's have a look here. He did cut the curb a fair amount there, and then the rear end is already stepping out there for him, you saw. So he was already kind of almost sliding onto the curb, and then the curb just did it, of course. You know how the curbs are now on this year's game, and so he's round. But, fair play, he didn't actually put it in the wall there, so he's actually very lucky, to be honest. He may be out of the position he was, but he's very lucky to still be in this race. He's actually not even that far down the order. I think he's still in P12 behind his teammate Vettel now, but we're on the restart then of this safety car. Verstappen is ahead of us in P7. We're in P8. I was hoping that, maybe is there half a chance to do anything on the restart, but it's a bit of a poor one with some understeer through the final corner, using some ERS to close up to Verstappen. But I can see an orange dot, on the mini-map. I think Lando Norris, I spoke about McLaren being a race-winning team. I think Lando Norris is leading this particular race as well. So that may be another crazy win on the cards for McLaren this season. But now a couple of laps from when the safety car came in, very much in our own battle with Gasly and even Fernando Alonso maybe. But here we go, Gasly on the outside. We're trying to defend as best we can to maintain the P8. This is simply just to get, 2 points over AlphaTauri right now. Ideally, if we could somehow try and defend Gasly and encourage Alonso to kind of get involved, I would prefer Alonso to go overtake Gasly and be in P9, but it may be difficult. But you've got Alonso right there, and I think behind them, look at the minimap, the two Aston Martin cars, Vettel and Stroll, they're definitely the quickest cars out of us 4 different teams. They could definitely try and overtake Gasly, so if I can just hold on to this position, Gasly goes to move around the outside, we're defending the inside outside line, if he can just nudge him a little bit wide, obviously without making contact and just, hard and fast racing, there may be a possibility. And he's going to go for the move on the outside here. We hold our line, and Gasly behind. Oh, Gasly's lost the rear end on the curb. He's nearly lost it. It's 3 wide. It's 3 wide between Gasly, Alonso, and Sebastian Vettel on the inside. This can't work, and Gasly's forced wide. Alonso's through, but Vettel will keep his foot in, and the German may just do us a favour as he keeps his car round the outside of Pierre Gasly. Gasly trying his best, but Vettel has the better racing line now into the final bend, and the Aston Martin gets it. He's an Aston Martin sandwich now. Is Gasly, and Stroll maybe goes for the move as Gasly's now hounded. So our prayers have been answered. These guys have done me a solid, but it all started from this. Gasly tried to go round the outside. We did nothing wrong here. We held up. We didn't even make any contact, and we were hardly side by side there. And Gasly just got far too greedy. And then this move happened. Oh, look at this. What a seat to be in for Lance Stroll to see that 3 wide. And then this was quite rude, to be fair, from Alonso and Vettel, just kind of pushing Gasly a bit wide there. But to be fair, 3 wide was never going to work in that corner. Alonso had the better racing line. He was, obliged to do that. And then Vettel does such a solid here. Thank you very much. Sebastian Vettel keeps his foot in and goes and overtakes Gasly, and then Stroll gets a pop at him. But that all started from Gasly being a little bit too eager to overtake us on the outside at a corner where you're really not going to overtake anyone, really, let's be honest. And we just held our racing line, and he was the one that made the mistake on the curb. So we've been, really nice here. But just then, as I was talking there, you may have just heard underneath my voice, my engineers told me that Sergio Perez has an issue with his car. So the Red Bull, the Mexican, he was in P3, I think, ahead of the likes of Hamilton, which is really bad news for Hamilton in the championship. But now he's got an issue. So is there possibly a free position to come? I don't know.
We've lost one of the gears. The transmission is significantly damaged. We're down a gear.
Okay. Oh, maybe not. Maybe we don't have a position to gain, because even if Perez is slow, we've now apparently lost a gear. I don't actually know which gear it is. That as we go down into this corner, it looks like it's 4th gear there. You saw it skipped from 5 to 3. So we lost 4th gear then for the rest of this race, it looks like. Here is Perez on lap 27, going very slow. Leclerc gets him. You can see the running order on the top left. It's Lando Norris who does lead the way with 2 laps to go in the McLaren. Such a quick car, and especially in the hands of Lando this season a few times. Obviously, Ricciardo's also won one race, so that car in general is just very, very quick in papaya. But Bottas 2nd, Hamilton 3rd. That's bad news for Hamilton for the championship, remember. That will pretty much, very much help Bottas, help him secure the championship, maybe. I can't believe I'm saying that, into the final round. But Leclerc up into P5, Leclerc up into P4, I should say, Ricciardo P5, and Verstappen now is going to overtake his teammate. So Perez, he's going to be punching the air. His car's got an issue, but he's 13 seconds down the road, so I don't know how much of an issue that is. Can we... Oh, no!
Caution.
Oh, no, Leclerc. Oh, Charles Leclerc is out of this race. He only just got up into P4, which would have been pretty damn decent for him in Ferrari, but he's out then. I was going to say, I think the gap is too large for us to overtake Perez, so maybe no free position for us. But Leclerc sacrificed himself. Ferrari, the engine's gone pop and smoking, and that's going to be the free position we get, because, Perez is too far. Even with the Red Bull having an issue, we can't overtake him, but we've got 1 free position for the Ferrari, and so we are going to end up in P7 then. Alonso P8, Vettel P9, and Stroll is P10. So Gasly scoring no points in this race. He really fell off after that issue with the curb. But Lando Norris wins another race in this insanely quick McLaren at times this season. But we come home for a very, very solid P7. And that is going to set us up very nicely for Abu Dhabi. The final round, the ability to overtake AlphaTauri. But it is going to take 1 final race. We're still behind them. We're going to have to do the business in Yas Marina.
A beautiful performance from McLaren today. Anthony Davidson, how do you think they were able to set themselves apart today?
It was a question of right place, right time today. We were looking at an entirely different race before the safety car came out, but they were able to take full advantage after the field had been bunched up.
Our drivers are making their way out for the podium celebrations, And it's going to be McLaren picking up the winner's trophy. Congratulations to the entire team for that fantastic performance.
Well, there you have it then. I believe that's Lando Norris's 3rd win in Formula 1 in this alternative Formula 1 universe of ours, and a 4th win for McLaren this season. They really are the 2nd best team, and, you know, with a few more upgrades, they could be challenging Mercedes for the title next season in Season 2, which would be quite exciting, even as a viewer, even for me, to watch on the AI battle, because I don't think we're going to be in the battle quite yet there in Season 2. We'll be looking to challenge the likes of Aston and Ferrari for the top of the midfield, I hope, in Season 2. But you can see what that means for the championship in terms of Bottas, 13 points to Hamilton. So, really, I mean, there needs to be a miracle if Hamilton's going to turn that around. So it's weird to say, but Bottas may have this championship nailed on. And for us, 2 points in it, all to play for. But again, we're the ones chasing. We have to once again beat Gasly. Hope that Tsunoda doesn't score as well whilst we do that, because otherwise it's a lot more difficult for me to overtake and outscore them if 2 of them are scoring. And like I said, if Ilott wants to turn up for the last race, for the last one, and score a point, that would be lovely, but we just don't know. But that's going to set up a very exciting finale. There's a championship to decide, even if it is a bit out of Hamilton's reach, and then there's our crucial battle for some extra prize money in P6 in the championship. But guys, if you did enjoy the penultimate episode of Season 1, then be sure to hit that like button. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you're new around here, then do subscribe for weekly Formula 1 content. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.